The third thing that they wanted to do in a major way was to make the school central. They wanted to make the school central to students' lives. They took what was a 6-hour day and recommended an 8-hour day. Not that any more time would be held under instruction, but that there would be a provision made for resource centers, for other kinds of activities got to take place within a school building or within a school campus, and in that way accomplish the goal of making the school more central to youngsters' lives. Make it a place that would want to come and want to stay. So they ended up recommending an 8-hour day. Actually, the school day began at 10 to 8 and ended at 10 after 4. All right, that was basically the plan. Independent study, individual progress, and an extended day where we could accommodate more than just original classroom learning. The next thing we had, the second essential, we had to have a student body. There was nobody here. We started with tabula rasa. The building was being constructed at the same time we were recruiting students. All we had was a design and a dream. We went from junior high school to junior high school where we could get in. Some of them wouldn't let us in. Some principals feared the school and what it might engender. But wherever we went, we tried to recruit students by telling them what the design was going to be. And as a result, we ended up in that first year with 1,100 students who wanted to come to this school. Wasn't that, well, all right, they deserve it, sure. No, they were taking a chance, and their parents were taking a chance, because really it was an unknown. Can there be a school without grades? And to commit yourself to 8 hours a day? The superintendent also said he wanted John Dewey High School to represent the entire borough, and he wanted them to mirror the ethnic breakdown of the average academic high school. There was no average academic high school, but we became the average academic high school in terms of pupil distribution. And that was done through recruiting. So that this school became a borough-wide school, except for a portion of students who lived within the zone, and they could come also. But we had 1,100 students, and they were basically dedicated, hardworking, adaptable. They wanted the school to succeed, and if we learned anything in education at all, if a school is to succeed, the students have to want it to. And if they don't want it, the school will not succeed. That first group wanted the school to succeed. Many students traveled an hour and a half each way to get here. Some came from my old district up in North Brooklyn and Bedford-Stuyvesant and Williamsburg. Some came from Brownsville, some came from East New York, some came from downtown Brooklyn, but some traveled an hour and a half each way and probably were never late. There were also elements among the students of risk-taking too. They were walking into an unknown, and they were risk takers. They understood that they were pioneers in a sense, and that a lot would depend upon their degree of success, and they took it very seriously. That first group set the tone for the rest of the school. So now we have two essentials, the design and the students. Next, we have students, I like to call them frisky because they were. That first group sometimes appeared to be every place at once. An aside, you know the monument outside, I beg the architect, don't put a monument there, don't put a platform. If students want to protest, they have enough avenues and venues for protest. We don't have to give them one. And of course I lost that battle. And many an afternoon I would look out of the window of the conference room and look at the monument, and there'd be a demonstration of some kind. It did not bother us. We thought there was something instructive about it, but there are some high-rise apartments around, and they would get upset sometimes, so that they would call and let us know what was going on as if we did not know. But they were a frisky group. Now, in order to channel that energy and direct it, we needed a staff. And there was no staff. We had a skeleton crew that was appointed during the summer, actually during the spring preceding the opening of the school, the department heads of the major departments and some selected teachers. And these were volunteers also. And they also understood that if they were not happy at the end of the year, they could leave and go back to their other school. But they indeed were as venturous as the students were. They understood that this was going to be different, that this was going to be challenging, but they were flexible, they were hardworking, they adapted to a lengthened day. You know, an 8-hour day with kids is, if you're not a teacher, you don't understand. It's pretty rough. And beginning in April of that year, '69, they planned the school. Basically, that skeleton staff planned the school. So now we had 3 essentials. We had the design, the students, and the staff. Next thing we needed was a curriculum. Curriculum, what's curriculum is anything we design, any activity we design, any program we design that has a specific educational end. It could be a textbook, it could be a course of study, it could be a syllabus, it could be a laboratory, it could be a gym, it could be anything as long as it has an educational end. And that summer, we wrote curriculum for every discipline in the school within a matter of months. And we also said, we're not going to restrict it to the building. So that first year, we had classes of art. If you remember the first year, if any first-year students are here, we had art being taught at Brighton Beach. Youngsters were making sand sculpture and then covering them with plaster of Paris because wood was expensive and stone was expensive, but sand was cheap. The first Earth Day was celebrated in April of '69. Our students cleaned up Plum Beach. The entire school. Our biggest concern then was whether we should give them a tetanus shot before they went there. It was not the cleanest beach in the world. We had marine biology, first high school in New York City, because we had to. So now we have curriculum, we have students, we have staff, and we have a design. The last thing we needed, that 5th element, we get the word quintessential from the 4 and 1 more. I'd like to think of John Dewey as being the quintessential high school. That's the 5th element. Right. We're coming close to the end. The 5th element. We had the support of a community about us. The mayor, if you remember, visited our school the first year he was here too. I tried to dissuade him. I didn't want him to come to a school where there was no furniture in the auditorium, where the cafeteria where we met was one that kids had to sit on the floor, but he came anyway. We had a mayor who was interested in the school, a superintendent who put a protective shield around the school to protect it from any kind of political interference that might happen. We had a local superintendent. This is the year of decentralization, by the way, Dolores Chitraro, the head of the local school board, a man named Peter Ginacini, Jack Zack, a superintendent in the high school office. All of these people supported the school. We had a parents association the first year. Not many schools have that either, a strong parents association in year 1. So that we had those 5 elements which we felt would secure the school for the future. And indeed it did. Let me end with this. There's been some talk about some concern about the future of Dewey. Let me try a parable and then I'm gone. Before I came to John Dewey, I was principal of Eastern District High School for 6 years. It was an old school. I don't know if it was on Marcy between Keep and Rodney in Williamsburg, Bedford-Stuyvesant. It was a very old building. The kids used to call it the castle or the fortress because that's what it looked like. And built before the turn of the last century. Walking about the building on my daily rounds, I noticed some fixtures in the walls and in the ceiling that I couldn't identify. And somebody told me that those were gas jets. That was gas, because the school, while it was built with electricity, also had illuminating gas in case the electricity failed. They weren't sure it was going to last there. And I wondered, how do you turn a gas jet on in classrooms, in an auditorium, in a gymnasium? And I was told that a custodian used to come around with a long pole. At the end of the pole was a hook, which he would use to pull a little ring on a valve to allow gas to escape. And then he had a flint and steel mechanism, and he'd push the handle, and the flint would spark, and the spark would turn on the gas, and he'd get light. And I said, my God, that's a wonderful thing to do, to be able, with the flick of a wrist, or whatever action it is, to create a light, and then walk on, and knowing you left a light behind, and you have another one to do. And maybe that's all of our jobs regarding John Dewey High School, too. We all created a light. We're not there anymore now. On the other hand, there's a lot we can do to ensure that that light remains, and that light can be John Dewey High School. Thank you very much.